Welcome to Access to Analytics, the show where we discuss everything data and access to data.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Access to Analytics, the only show where we talk about data and data access. Today's guest actually has his own Wikipedia page, so that must mean he's famous. Aside that, he's also an established author and the intelligence platform lead at PayPal. Hey, Jean-Georges, how are you doing?
After such an introduction, I don't even have to introduce myself. Okay, so you need to have some jobs here.
Maybe what is an intelligence platform lead?
So, what I'm doing at PayPal is we built a data mesh. Okay, so that was not the goal. Okay, the goal was not to build a data mesh. The goal was to build a new generation of data platform. We had as you can imagine, PayPal has a lot of data. We are really a data-driven company, and we need data, okay, to make sure that the transactions are safe, that the vendors are safe, that our consumers are safe, and that we respect the law. And we operate in so many countries, and as soon as you deal with money, I mean, people are a little bit sensitive. So we need to make. There's a lot of things about that. So when I started at PayPal a little bit over a year ago now, almost 18 months, I was hired to build a new generation of data platform for the risk organization, and I would say it's a risk organization specifically when you're thinking about smart risks. Okay, so smart, well, not smart frauders, but people that when you pay with your credit card. Okay, so sometimes it's declined right away. Okay, so and that's kind of the immediate risk. Okay, so you look at something, there's something that doesn't click. Okay, and in a very short time you need to say yes or no. So that's not really the risk we were dealing with. It's more the risk like, okay, I'm going to establish my business. I'm going to make it sound like it's going to be a legit business, and over time build a little bit of that, and then at some point I'm going to break the bank. I'll try to break the bank. So it's more like a heist in a way, all this heist series on Netflix and things like that we're trying. That some of the data we're using is trying to identify. So lots of brain power going there, lots of observation of data and behavior. So it's really interesting.
So you're basically stopping the modern day George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Ocean's 11, trying.
Yeah, or any any of the ice you can think of. Okay, it seems like it's a TV theme these days on Netflix. Okay, like a bit of a mix between the Robin Hood and being a con man, and yeah, so something like the George Clooney or Ocean series and all this thing. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah, I haven't met him personally yet. Okay, so
George. me neither, but I'll keep you posted when I do. And so that's exciting. It's difficult. You've been there 18 months, so you're setting up a new platform, defining new metrics. How has that been?
So it's been a very interesting journey. Okay, so what happened in the beginning is that we had, so of course the data we're dealing with has to be compliant. Okay, we have a lot of compliance and regulatory environment. Okay, as soon as you're dealing with finance. So when I joined, compliance wanted us to be more compliant, more open about the data. Okay, we were already having a great deal of data governance and regulation and all those things, but they expected that things will keep growing. Okay, and if you heard, and you probably heard about Silicon Valley Bank and all these things that happened
Yeah.
recently, that's probably going to mean that we're going to see more and more, regulation and control over the financial industry to protect consumers and customers of banks. So there was that. There was we already had a lot of self-service. So self-service, um, I would say PayPal was really a pioneer in self-service for data analysts and data scientists. Okay, so uh, we had a we had a great platform. Unfortunately, it was lacking a little bit of governance. So we needed to make sure that the governance was there as well. We were more following, like I would say, classic data engineering, a one-to-one process. So you've got, hey, oh, you need this data. Let's have a data engineering team build this kind of a one-to-one project. Like you would imagine. So when we and as part of that, we also wanted to be able to exploit more of the cloud resources as well. Okay, because we've got unpredicted loads at times. So and I would say we've got some expertise in running data centers. Okay, when you go to PayPal.com or everything is really on our own data center. But when it comes to analytics, I don't think that's of course that's very personal. I don't think it's our business to run a data center dedicated to analytics. So it made sense as well to use something else, and we use a GCP for that part. So when you look at all the scenario where we were, okay, we were not bad. Okay, we just wanted to be better. Okay, and when we look at where we were, we just decided, okay, we needed to think more about data as a product. We needed to have a better relationship with data governance on our enterprise data governance team. We needed to make sure that we're not boiling the ocean. Okay, so thinking more about having a scope of something that is more palatable. Uh, so we realized in March last year, so 4 months in the project, that what we were aligning to is really, it was a data mesh. Okay, so uh, we had the need for three of the principle, the force, the self-service platform we already had. Okay, so we just needed to keep that. Okay, so and I think it's also a good example that when you're thinking about, when you're building a data mesh, you think about these 4 principles, but the 4 principles all are always there. I've been discussing with people saying, oh, federated data governance or federated computational governance is too complex. It's too complicated, so I'm not going to do it. I said, well, yeah, but that's not a data mesh, right? If you keep removing things, it doesn't
It's
look
not.
like a data mesh anymore. So in March of 2022, we decided, oh well, this is really a data mesh we're building. Okay, so instead of saying, hey, we're going to keep on our trajectory, we decided, hey, let's completely align to the data mesh, and that simplified our life quite a bit, because yeah, there's a little bit of things we didn't think about. Okay, and yes, Jean-Marc Segani's book is great, but she doesn't give you a recipe for building a data mesh. Okay, it's more like a conceptual book. Great book, but conceptual. And and uh, and speaking of books, conceptual books, I had to write my own. Um, but missing the Flemish version, by the way, Bart. If
Otherwise, I
you
would have bought it. How many languages already?
we have English, French, Chinese, Telugu, Finnish. Um, I will have Spanish and Catalan soon, and Alsatian. which is my native region in France. Okay, so we will have Elation coming out soon.
I mean, you see all the translations. It's clear that people across the world want to teach their children data mesh from a very early age on. So I guess, I mean, the data mesh framework, the timing was right. I mean, a lot of people were probably applying some bits and pieces already.
Exactly. Yes.
As a way to scale, right?
Yes. You're totally there, Bart. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people were already, product thinking in data. Okay, so which is data product or data as a product. Okay, call it the way you want, but people were already thinking about that. And I yes, there's intelligence in my title. Doesn't but there's I'm considered data part of the data engineering organization, but I self-identify as software, and I think that a lot of as a software engineer, I think that a lot of the principles that Jamax put in our book are software engineering processes and ideas we've been using for 20 years almost. Okay, when you're thinking about agile, and so it's just about, hey, this is how we do software. Let's take a few things about the software and put it into and put it into data. Okay, so and
with
just
data governance in it. With data
yes,
governance
yes, of course. I think that's the thing is when I've seen a lot of companies, okay, is that wanted to do data governance, okay, and I think data governance, it's always funny when you're thinking about asking someone, okay, in the data world, okay, what do you want to do with data, right? I think that probably 99% of the people you're going to ask are going to say, oh, I'm going to do AI, or I'm going to do machine learning, or now I want to do Gen AI. Okay, the thing is, okay, but so nobody is going to tell you, I dream to be a data quality engineer, okay?
data
Or I dream of being into data governance, or a data curator, or a data steward. But the thing is, those are really critical function in the enterprise, and if you keep them in silos, you're not going somewhere, right? The thing is, you can, if you don't have a partnership between the people producing data, consuming data, and the governance people, it doesn't work. It just then if you do that, then your data governance people will just look like they're painful people, right? They're just bringing you rules, and if it's that, then your data governance project is going to fail. So and I've seen some of that. I think we're past that at PayPal, but for other companies, I've seen that, yeah. And then basically, yeah, you've installed Colibra or whatever, and it just stays there, and you just hope that people is going to use it, but they're not. And then they look at the money they spend and say, oh, data governance doesn't work, and that's wrong. It's because you're going back to the tool, you're not going back to the function.
Going back to what you said a bit earlier, right? You said you started 18 months ago. There was already a platform. People were already using data. There was already self-service. Compliance wanted some more compliance reporting for the various regulations out there that apply to PayPal. How many data consumers do you have? Because that probably determines in large part like how much change effort is going to be. How many people are already on the platform? And has that number grown in the meantime?
So I cannot share numbers easily, except the ones that are on our website. But what I can tell you is we're about 29,000 people. Okay, we're not building anything really except Zettel with their devices. So we're all working on a computer. We all need data. Okay, so some need to do more things with data than others, but everybody in the company is involved with data. So I'm not saying that 29. I have 29,000 people working on my platform. Okay, that's not true. But the potential of data in our company is impacting everybody.
1,000 people, large share that is probably using data. You want to implement data mesh, and you said you had some learnings for exchange. What were some of those learnings?
One thing that we've been very careful since the beginning is to think about who we're targeting. Okay, so when I'm saying data engineer or data scientist, okay, we're very careful about who our solution is for. Okay, so what does that mean is that we define personas. Okay, agile, normal
Like
agile,
software.
yeah,
Like software,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And we said, okay, well, we had Juliet. Juliet was our data scientist. We had Cindy, that was a data engineers. And when we had to build something, it was for one of those two personas. Okay, and so sometimes, and we were following agile when we built a platform, so we were following safe, okay, scalable agile framework, and working in PI, so basically, sprints and a groupment of spring in program increments. And so the theme would have been either this PI we're going to work for Juliet, or this PI we're going to work for Cindy. Okay, so our first our first goal was to satisfy our data scientists, so the Juliets, and yeah, that's following this methodology. We were on time, under budget. We delivered our first data mesh in December of 2022, and now we are focusing more on the tools that data engineers need to build data products.
If I understand correctly, and I love it that you're starting from, what the business needs. Right? You're not just building a tool for the sake of building a tool. You're building first, focus on Juliet, the data scientist, building what she needs, and now you're focusing on Cindy, the data engineer, and you're enabling her to build data products, right?
Yes.
And is Cindy already building data products? Are you already there?
Yeah, so part of our release in December, we had 6 data products. Okay, so which were something that the company, of course, needed. Okay, but the company was also, it was previously they were available as data sets. Okay, so now we created data products based on that. Okay, so we transformed the data sets into a data product. Okay, so we and now we're building more, and we're adding more to the mesh. Okay, so and to enable this work for the Cindy's, because the Cindy's, the data engineer, are building those data products. We worked around the tooling necessary for transforming a data set into a data product, and at the core, at the basic of that, it's really, you take the data set and you add a data contracts to it. Okay, so that's so we worked a lot on the tooling around the data contract. What we did is, last week we announced, we open sourced our data contract templates. It's been very well received so far from the community, which makes me happy. It's a very popular project on GitHub. We've got something like almost like 180 stars, and by the time you in less than a week. Yeah.
So this was something I was wondering. I also had a look at the data contract template. So I was wondering, like, how the data contracts were related to data mesh, but it seems that actually they flow out of the data mesh implementation.
So first thing is, my belief, okay, and it's really my personal belief. It's not, I'm not talking on behalf of PayPal, but is that to build a data mesh, you need a data contract. You don't you don't need a data mesh to have a data contract. Okay, so I mean, what I mean by that is you can use a data contract for other purpose than just a data mesh. But if you want to build a data mesh and you don't have a data contract, I think it's like if you wanted to build APIs without Swagger. Okay, it's, yeah, no documentation, nothing, no agreement, nothing like that. So that's really why we wanted to do that. And I think if you just have a data set, it's not enough. Okay, I'm just giving you my data. Hey Bart, this is my little data. Okay, here's my little data. You see, I'll give you my little data here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the thing is, but you know nothing about it. Okay, you because you're a smart guy. You look at the schema. You kind of make some. You can make some detection, or you can make some inference. So yeah, okay, the name column of the customer table is probably the name of the customer, right? But the thing is, over time, and you've probably seen that some columns that were supposed to be something has become something else, and then you cannot rely on that anymore. Okay, so people were making documentation, and you've got conference page, Word documents, PDFs. Okay, and we all know that as soon as a document is published, is out of date. Okay, and then you try to catch up to make sure that your the delta between the reality and the document is as little as possible. With the data contract, you don't have to do this anymore. With the data contract, it is the companion of your data set. They evolve together. If one changes, the other one detects that there's a change, and you've got a reminder that, hey, you're out of sync. Okay, you can make the things a lot richer in the data contract itself. So now, if I'm giving you that, or my updated data, and then you expecting another update tomorrow, okay, but you're just expecting it. In the data contract, I'm going to tell you, Bart, tomorrow before 9, you'll get your updated data. Okay, this is part of the SLA I'm putting into the data contract. And you say, oh, we agreed in the contract that the ID field should not be null. Well, this is an agreement we have in the contract. If there's some null values in the ID field, then I'm not respecting my contract. I'm not respecting my data delivery to you. And this is how the whole idea about that is to be able to document, to build, but not only that, but the thing is to be able, and I think it's really a key element to data, is you will be able to trust my data.
It's from what I understand, it's like trusted, right? It will be there, the timeliness, but also the data quality. 9 o'clock, my little data set is there, the little dolphin is there. But then it's also understandable. You define the semantic meaning, that customer table, what it is, what type of customer it is. So it's basically to understand and trust the data.
I think it's really coming down to trust. Okay, it's really there. One of the issue data scientists, by interviewing them and discussing them, one of the activities the data scientists are doing is they're copying the data. Okay,
Classic.
Okay? The classic thing, yeah. And then it creates a shitload of issues. Okay, because as soon as you copy the data, then you cannot make sure that the access is still conform. Okay, you're creating a lot of potential regulation problems. You're creating it's yeah. Excuse my language, but it's becoming a shit show. Okay, so if you increase trust, then as a data scientist, why would I bother copying the data? Okay, because and managing this copy of the data, which can fail, which I've got to monitor, I've got to schedule, blah blah blah, instead of using directly the data where it is, because I've read the contract, I've read the SLA, I've read, and I now know how to trust the data, and so it make it easier for my job to be able to access that. Okay, and to access that visually, okay, in a tool, okay, so I can see that, but also programmatically. Okay, so my applications can be smarter and can decide based on the criteria, and it's all that I define or that matters. For example, I need to do a, let's say, a monthly average of something. Okay, if the data is coming at 10 versus 9, I don't really care. Okay, the thing is, it's okay. Okay, I don't. This could be acceptable for me, but for someone else, it might not be, because they need a daily report, or they need a regulation. They need to send it to the regulator before 10 or whatever. Okay, the thing is, the SLAs. Okay, so my criteria, my service levels are going to be dependent on my use case. Okay, but if I can see that you're delivering, that you're following your part of the data as a producer of the contract, okay, then yeah, I'm really, it makes me trust your work more. Okay, so I think it's coming back. It's coming down to trusting the data.
I love that. So what data contract creates is that extremely valuable trust with the data consumer, right? I'm a data scientist, Juliette.
Yes.
I need a data product or a data set for, it can be for my ML model to run and make predictions, or I'm a regulatory analyst. I have to create my reports. I got different requirements for the data set, but I can trust it. I don't have to do all kinds of crazy stuff, like how did they call it, like shadow IT or copy data sets.
Yes.
So because I have trust that it's there in the shape, format, with data quality that I need it. And as a result of that, also your customers, the payback customers, among which I am one, so I want my data to be secure, right? I can trust the fact that data scientists are not going to do crazy stuff with data sets because they want to create their insights. They don't have admin credentials and all that jazz. I can trust. Now, I wouldn't be Bart if I were not playing the devil's advocate, which I love to do. I understand it for data consumers. I understand it for your customers. But why does a data producer care? Why do they care to have their hands tied with contracts and SLAs and ownership and all that responsibility? Where, I mean, they don't care about what the data scientist does, right?
Yeah, and it's true. It's more difficult to incentivize the data producer. But there's a few things here. First, a lot of the time, data is in a flow. Okay, we're not talking, I've got my source system and I've got my destination system, and there's nothing in the middle. Okay, it's more like a flow, or like a canal. Okay, like the canal to go to Antwerpen. Okay, and you've got all this little. I'm forgetting my English now, but all
container
this.
ships.
Well, no, we've got all this écluse. Okay, you've got all this. Yes, écluse. Okay, where you've got these different gates. Okay, on the, because the water.
We'll add the translation below.
we'll add the translation. But anyway, when you're Yeah, it's a canal lock. Okay, a lock on a canal. But okay, so you've got all these different locks or gates in your process. Okay, so yeah, I'm producing data for you, but where am I getting the data from? Okay, I, sure, there are some source systems. Okay, like let's say, like um, just not something super sensitive I can share is that we use Workday for HR. Okay, so the thing is, yes, the data from Workday are are they're producing the data. Okay, so there's a data producer for that, but on the other end they're also taking data from other things which are feeding back to Workday, right? So nobody is really 100% of producer and 100% of consumer, right? It's data is flowing. Okay, so I would say so that's one thing. Okay, let's do the thing because you don't want to be treated the bad in a bad way. I think also, to be honest, I think people at PayPal are we people at PayPal are very nice. Okay, so yeah, you cannot rely on just people being nice, but it's great. Okay,
It helps.
so it helps. Yeah, some I've been working in companies where it was not people were not as nice. Okay, so we've got this culture of helping each other, and I think the the producer also wants to know when something is going wrong, right? The thing is, because we've got a lot of observability coming out of the producer system, flowing into the consumer system. Okay, the data, the other analogy I like to take is when you're building a car. Okay, you're getting all your rolls of steel coming into the factory. You're checking that you're not trusting the steel. You're taking regular samples. You're testing your raw material. You don't blindly accept what's coming on your factory. Okay, so at that point, data mesh is also checking on that and can report these mistakes to the producer. Mistakes, there are issues, call them the way you want. Okay, so I think it's and also thing is, you're the producer. There's a problem. Would you rather be informed as early as possible, uh, or do you want to get a phone call at 3 a.m. from your VP because your report is not there? Okay, so I think it's good practice. Okay, I know there's a big debate about how do we incentivize producers but I don't think it's always a question of being incentivized. It's also about doing the right thing and putting the right processes in place. Right now we're writing processes about how you used to be doing data engineering in a way. This is now how you're doing it now. Okay, the additional tools we are building around the data contract is simplifying data quality rules. It's simplifying observability. So this was different tools that people had to configure manually before. Now it's all centralized. Okay, so it helps. It makes things a lot straightforward, fluid.
Yep.
Coming back to water.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so the product thinking, okay, is really important when you're thinking about a data product. A data product can have multiple data sets and multiple version. As its minimum, it's one. Okay, so let's say I'm delivering my data to you, okay, as a data set, and I'm giving it to you, and you get, hey, this is my data set. Okay, here's my data product. It has one data set and one version. Okay, that's how it starts anyway. Over time, because you're a demanding consumer, you want other fields, you want different aggregation, you want different filters. Okay, because maybe you have one with PII and the other one without PII. Okay, all these things we agree that a data set with PII and a data set without PII, it's the same domain, right? It's the same product. It's just you have a different access to it, or you different content to it, but it's the same. It's the same. Or even if I'm doing an aggregate, okay, let's say, hey, this is my sales. Okay, you can have access to my raw sales. You can have access to my aggregated by country sales. It's the same sales domain, same sales data product. So what I can say is, well, when you're connecting to sales, you can choose which data set you want. You can have the raw one, okay, you can have a curated one, you can have a aggregated one, and those are already metrics, and it's already done by the metrics you want, okay? And then over time, you can also have multiple versions of that, okay? So because you want a new field, because you want a different version, a different way of doing the aggregation, because the business decided that the aggregation is done at different time of the day or by week or whatever. Okay, all that your data product stays, but it evolves. Okay, so you're connecting to you're using and leveraging one data sets in my data product, but the thing is it can evolve. And I can tell you, Bart, you've been using version 2.1 for a year now. It's great. I know you love it. But look, we're just releasing version 3 of this data product. It adds these fields. The latency to get the data is reduced by a day, etc., etc. Okay, so I've got all these things that I can actually, and that's where product thinking and data as a product comes to mind, right? So this is reality. This is not science fiction. A lot of people say, well, the and the old, I would say, the old way of doing data engineering is, okay, I'm going to put my ticket in snow, and I'm going to ask someone to do that, and then when they do it, when they have time to do it, then I'm going to get my new data set. Okay, and what they will do is they will give you something like 2 weeks before they kill the previous data sets, and you've got to migrate all your applications and to the new one. That's not how we're thinking now.
It's really like a product where you get different versions with
It
new
is a product.
features, right? And then you maintain some previous versions. You might sunset other versions. Now, there's one thing that what you said that's really going to my head now, and it's, you mentioned like sales data. Some sales data is aggregated, other is raw, and I immediately thought, well, aggregated data is a way of anonymizing, right? So that GDPR doesn't apply anymore. GDPR, European regulation. Raw data is very much PII, right? So, and I was looking at the data contract that you published, and of course, I go immediately to the access part, right? And I saw, and this was something that was a bit to my surprise, that in the data contract, you determine, the data owner, I guess, determines which roles can access the data and the access request workflow. But now you say like, well, there's also, you got aggregated data, raw data. Some of these data sets, by the nature of the data, will have to comply with privacy regulations or other regulations.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile that with the data owner deciding who can have access? Because that's very federated, right? How can the central data governance team in this framework monitor compliance with privacy regulations or PCI directive, the PCI standards? Like, how do they keep that control when you work with data contracts?
We did not change anything that was already implemented at PayPal. Okay, what you see in the data contract is there's two things that are, when you're thinking about access and ownership, there's the role you need to have access to the data, and we've got an internal process at PayPal to give you access to the data. We are not replacing that with the data mesh. However, we are describing it in a more intelligible way that it used to be doing. Okay, so like with a lot of companies, it's not always easy to find the right information, right? The thing is, you could come back to me and say, hey, what role do I need to access this data set? Okay, so how do I access this data set? Now it's part of the data contract. Okay, so the toolings that we have can inform you of how to get the data. Okay, so that's one thing about the role-based access to data. Okay, another thing we have in the data contract is the owners and the history of owners. And it's more than just the owners, it's all the stakeholders. Okay, so you can have, for example, we wanted to be able to track the history of it, because let's say, hey, Mike was the original uh, um, owner of it. He was replaced by Joe, then by Jim. Okay, and let's say that Jim is leaving the company, and then what happens? Okay, and especially in the US, where when someone is leaving, is like, it could be, depending on the situation, it can be just overnight, or it could be within 2 weeks. You've got to be able to do that. So if Jim lives, at least here, we've got this traceability of who was the previous one. Okay, so we can go back to Joe and Mike and say, guys, we lost Jim, but can you help? Or what does this mean? And there's an evolution. Okay, so the fundamentals are still good. So that's one thing. So that's the second thing. The third thing we have is that some columns can be encrypted in the data contract, and we also exhibit the encrypted column and the non-encrypted column. So let's say we have access to the same data products. Okay, you and me. Because you're more careful, you have access to PII. I don't, but I'm the developer. Okay, so I can write my queries. I can write my application, and it's going to leverage the real name. Okay, but in the result and what I'm debugging, I'm not seeing the real values. If I just give you the SQL statement because you have access to the PII, you will be able to see that. Okay, so you've got this isolation, so it makes it even safer than just a normal, access to a product, to just a data set.
I see. So from what I understand, in a data contract, you get certain elements, certain attributes that are there to inform, right? This is the role that you need to access data. You got some that are more to monitor, right? Like, watch out, this owner has left, you have to assign a new one. And then you got others really to check, like to check and raise alerts in case of data quality issues,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yeah. So and that's the idea of the data contract. Okay. The thing is that it's extensible. Why we wanted to open source it is, did we do a good job? When I look at the number of stars, at least I'm thinking about it, that. But the thing is, it's also like, what else do we need? Okay, what else do we need to have in this central document that is going to help the different users, producer, consumer, whatever, of data? Okay, so that we can, without having too much of a burden on indies to build the data contract. Okay, so I think it's a really important piece of data engineering. I'm really grateful that PayPal allowed us to open source it, because I think it's going to help a lot of people, showing PayPal's leadership in terms of data and open source. So yeah, I think this is going to be great for the industry.
Brilliant, and a start of hopefully a new movement towards more trust in data. Cool.
Hopefully, yes. And
cool,
creating, and the idea is also what. So, a company like yours, okay, can partner more easily with others if you're aligned on a data contract as well. Okay, so it's more like a let's not have 20 different standards in the world. Okay, like we're so good at it, but have an alignment with different vendors that can create interoperability. Okay, you're into access control, but I've got other friends in observability. I've got a good friend as well doing a lot of things in the data quality space. Okay, so if we agree or if we evolve around a standard that can be shared for the industry, it makes everybody's life a lot easier. It makes interoperability between the tools a lot easier. Okay, and that's a little bit the I would say the cherry on the cake. Okay? La cerise sur le gâteau, mon ami.
La cerise sur le gâteau. Perfect way to end a brilliant and just general fun conversation. Jean-Georges, thank you so much for the pleasant conversation and all the insights. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Bart, thank you so much. See
Thank you,
you,
Jean-Georges.
and good luck with your all your projects.
Brilliant. And to the listener at home or at work, I don't know who's watching, where you're watching from, but thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.